Hello, hello, hello. So today we're going over the top 5 underrated premiums in World of Warships. These are ships that are generally not talked about as much, or they're just underrated overall. And a lot of people just need to learn about them and how great they are of ships. So without further ado, let's get started. And I'll be doing this with the SAT score. So the first ship on this list is going to be the legendary Pommern, which is the tier 9 premium for the Germans. This ship you can get for coal and doubloons. So if you aren't wanting to spend money, you can also get it for doubloons or coal, up to you. So you can get it for 18,300 doubloons or 180,000 coal. And of course, you are able to use your coupon for 25% off for the doubloons. And there's also 25% off for coal ships as well, if you are wanting to do that. So you can get the prices down by 25%. So what makes the Pommern so great are those really nice secondaries. It's also a very tanky battleship. 32 millimeter bow armor, 60 armor bow, 80 millimeter armor deck on the front and rear section with a 50 in the middle, and it has pretty much the same armor on the rear as well. It also has the signature German turtleback, so this thing's gonna be very, 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 very hard to citadel. Very hard. So this thing is an absolute monster for tankiness. HP, it is 81,000 HP, which is good for the tier. Secondaries go out to 12 kilometers when fully built, and the HE does have 32 millimeter of HE pen, which is very nice as well for the secondary. So they'll be melting absolutely anything and everything when they get their hands on whatever they're aiming at. It also comes with hydroacoustics, the signature 6 kilometer hydra for the Germans, which allows it to push enemies that are in smoke or hydra through islands to spawning that way, and also gets 6 kilometer torpedoes as well. Anti-air defense, typical of the Germans, pretty poor unfortunately. Maneuverability 31 knots, average for the tier, good for the tier. Concealment, you're gonna be spotted from the moon, right? Now, in randoms, this ship doesn't do very well in, but with how the meta is. But this thing excels in PvE combat, operations, asymmetric battles, you name it. It does extremely well, and it's one of the best credit grinders in those tiers. So if you're looking for a really good PvE ship, the Pommern does really well. In rank, the Pommern also does well in there as well, but in randoms with aircraft carriers and with CVs and submarines, I said it both. I said it twice. It just doesn't do very well, and it really suffers, unfortunately. So that's my recommendation for the Pommern. Moving on from the Pommern, let's talk about the Key. That ship is recently added for coal. You can get it in the armory, of course, just like you can with the Pommern. Let me talk about the price real quick. Let's see. So battleship tier 8. And let's see here. So you can get it for 11,300 doubloons or 110,000 coal. You are able to use the coupon as well for 25% off for the doubloons and 25% off for the coal. So if you are looking for that option. Tier 8s are a really good tier for grinding credits in Commander XP. Tier 8 and 9 are the most suggested for getting for a premium ship or for a coal ship to be able to grind your Commander on or grind for credits on. And the Key being essentially a side grade Amagi, it does very well. It also gets 10 kilometer torpedoes that hit decently hard for a battleship. You get 3 per side. You get the armor layout here, 32 millimeter bow, 32 millimeter deck and side. You do have to be careful of your side though, because it can get citadeled. It does have a turtleback though, so it does help out a little bit. But in this middle section right here, if you're not careful, you will get citadeled. So definitely be careful of that. But overall, very strong battleship for tier 8. One of my personal favorites. It also has a really cool Kobayashi camo if you're able to get it. Anti-air is for the tier. Unfortunately, it's Japanese, which doesn't have the best anti-air. It comes with a heel. You can do a spotter plane or a fighter. AP is really good on this ship. If you're up tier to like say tier 10, you can use HE, which will have it burn down those higher tier battleships. Also, the Pommern as well is also a great crew trainer as well. I don't know if I mentioned that, but I just wanted to make sure I did. Concealment is to the moon, so you're going to be spotted wherever. But overall, guns are pretty decent. Overall tankiness is average for the tier. Side grade Amagi. So if you've ever played the Amagi before and you like that ship, then you're going to 100% like the key. Moving on from the key, we were talking about essentially the same it's essentially the same ship of one's tier 9, one's tier 10. We're talking both at the same time, the Yoshino and the Azuma. Both of these you can get in the armory, and I'll show the price in a second for that. So let me go right here. So in the armory, we go to here, we go take a look. So cruiser, Japanese, tier 9, tier 10. So the Azuma you can get for both doubloons and coal. As you see, the price is 180,000 for coal for the Azuma. Doubloons is 18,300 for the doubloons. And then for Yoshino, you can get it for 260,000 coal for the Yoshino. Both of these ships have really large guns for a cruiser. 310 millimeter guns. Both of them get 9 guns each. Now, the Azuma does get a little bit more than the Azuma does. The Yoshino does get 16 torpedoes that are 20-kilometer range, by the way. You can put on the 20s or you can put on the 12s, but I highly recommend doing the 20s since you'll be very far back farming in this ship. For the Yoshino and the Azuma. The Azuma gets essentially the same exact consumables as the Yoshino. Yoshino gets a hydro, spotter plane. You can switch between that or DFAA, spotter plane or fighter and a heal. The Azuma gets either DFAA, spotter plane, and you can switch. You cannot switch the spotter plane for anything else. It's only on that one. But you can switch between the hydro and DFAA if you like, and a heal. And I'll let SAT score talk about both since they're essentially the same ship, just different tiers.
So the reason they get they're more underrated. They don't have a good reputation because your average Azuma Yoshino player seems to love showing broadside and getting dev struck because of their pretty large citadels. But when they're angled, they're actually pretty durable. Azuma also has a fast reloading heal, so she can come back pretty quickly, assuming she doesn't get dev strike, of course. So once you're getting better at the game, you know how to angle, control, and then control your distances. Both of these ships are really strong. They're really good in the meta just because they have pretty good ballistics, they hit hard, and they also have enough overmatch to threaten certain light cruisers. So you can play it pretty safe in the back, just hammering ships, lighting them on fire constantly after the DCP is down. And then during the late game, you have the HP to push in and then do some work. It's just, as I said, it's mostly getting a bad rep because there's a lot of newer players that try to ship out, and they don't get the angling quite down, and they get heavily punished as a result. But once you learn that, once you get over that problem, they become pretty solid ships, if a little bit boring to play.
Yeah, and don't underestimate the AP on those guns. With those 310 millimeter guns, you can dev strike cruisers with those guns. If they show broadside and you slap them with that AP with both the Azuma and the Yoshino, they're just toast. They are extremely painful guns, and they hurt. They just absolutely smash cruisers. And they'll do a lot of damage to battleships too, if they're broadside. Those AP just smashes. Also, the HE is just extremely high fire chance and very high pen. So you'll be doing damage to anything and everything every time you hit them. But yep, so that is the Azuma and Yoshino. So moving on from that, we're going to be talking about the Halford. Ugh, I hate this ship so much. The reason why I'm talking about it is because it recently got buffed So the Halford, you can get it for coal or doubloons. Let's go take a look at it real quick in here. You can get it for, oh wait, you can only get it for coal. You can't buy it. Okay, so you can only get it for coal. 108,000 coal at the moment. And you can use the coupon on it, which is nice as well. So what makes this ship so good is that it gets the American smoke, right? You get the American smoke. You can do a engine boost for 8%, or you can do DFAA. Of course, you're going to do the engine boost. It also comes with a single rack of 5 torpedoes with a 13.5 kilometer range. But they did recently buff the guns. So you get a total of 4 guns on this ship that don't have the best ballistics, but they have a really fast reload. So you're able to gun down other like torpedo destroyers if you do fight them. And it also comes with the HE attack aircraft, the attack rocket planes. And those rockets actually do a massive amount of damage to cruisers and battleships alike. Now, destroyers, these things have such a long delay time before the attack, you're not going to hit the destroyer, but they can be used for spotting. So you can essentially be in your smoke and launch the planes and then do an attack run on a destroyer and keep it perma-spotted while you're shooting at him, essentially giving yourself a free spotter, which is really nice to do that. But overall, before, I wouldn't recommend the Halford, but because they buffed it, I would recommend it just because of that reason, because it became very way stronger. Concealment is 6.1 kilometers, which is not the best, but because you have so much utility with the aircraft and with the smoke, I can see it's fine with that. Maneuverability is 38 knots, pretty fast for a destroyer, pretty quick. Anti-air isn't the best for, it's a destroyer, not the best. Depth charges are okay. Survivability, 21,300 HP. Pretty average for a tier 9. But overall, the Halford is definitely an underrated premium you can get nowadays. After that buff, a lot of people just do not expect that DPM from those guns. It just absolutely hurts. Is there anything else you want to add about the Halford besides what I added there, SAT?
So not only does the reload goes down on the Halford, but you also still have those amazing, the gun ballistics are actually better than the base Fletcher.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, the US and destroyer shells are super floaty. The Halford is less floatier. So that helps a lot with hitting destroyers that are running away.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it is, and it still gets the US smoke, so you can literally smoke up an ally, you can just fly your planes around, and if you run to a destroyer, you can still bully him with your guns. So yeah, Halford is, unfortunately got buffed.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we can still recommend it. If you don't like, it's still a hard ship to play though, because you have to balance the planes and then controlling your ship. It kind of sucks when you're in the middle of your attack run and then suddenly you hear the torpedo warning go off.
Oh, yeah, you got to F key so fast because that autopilot is not going to save you.
Yep. And you only get 20,000 HP at most. You take a torpedo, either your game is done or your game is practically done.
Mm-hmm. Yep, exactly.
But yeah, if you don't mind playing a hybrid destroyer, the difficulty that comes along with it, and the the loss of karma that entails, then yeah, Halford is actually a pretty good ship now.
Mm-hmm. So moving on from the Halford, we're gonna be talking about our final ship on the top 5 underrated premium ships to get in World of Warships. We're gonna be talking about the Hayate. As you can see in here, it has that beautiful camo on it, by the way. Gorgeous. Let's see, what can you get the Hayate for in the armory? So take a look here real quick. Tier 10 destroyer Japanese. You can get it for 260,000 coal. Of course, you can use the coupon on it. The Hayate, if it's a little bit of backstory, the Hayate came out at the same time as the Smalland, back when you could get the Smalland and other ships for free XP. So most of you guys may not know, but the Smalland is legit one of the most powerful tier 10 destroyers in the game. And this coming out at the same time, and the fact that back then, was it 2 million for the small end? Was it 2 million? Or was it like what
Yes,
one?
2 million.
Yeah, so it
2
costs
million.
2 million to get the small end, right? And this thing also costs 2 million. And so like people are like, why the hell would I get this thing when I could just get a small one that's just way better? So they kind of left the Hayate kind of in the dust. They didn't really do anything with it for a while. Then over time, they buffed. They did multiple things, right? They gave it a reload booster for the torpedoes, so it has 10 torpedoes with a 12 kilometer range. They hit really hard for 23,000 damage, and you get a torpedo reload booster, which means you can do a rack, and then you can just reload booster them and do another one. So essentially, you can launch 20 torpedoes in a quick succession. It gets an engine boost, which helps it go quicker, which in the speed itself on the ship isn't bad. It's 37 knots. You can go to higher to like 40 something ish. So pretty quick. Concealment is 6.1 kilometers, which is pretty good for a gunboat. Essentially, the Hayate is the Japanese. It's like a Japanese, like just a gunboat, like more jack of all trade ish. But those guns do really hurt with that fast reload and hard hitting HE. It just packs a wallop. And you do have a smoke to be able to disengage fights, and you do get enough of them to be able to do that. So really nice in that regard. But did they also buff the guns on the Hayate over time?
A while back they did.
Okay.
And I think they did, but I know the most notable one was giving it reload booster in a separate slot.
Yep. That was the biggest buff. But yeah, they buffed the guns, and then they buffed the reload booster for the Hayate. And those two really made this ship into a very underrated ship, because a lot of the older players have that stigma where like, ugh, it's a Hayate. Why would I ever get that when I can get the small end, or I can use the small end, right? And that's why a lot of people don't really talk about the Hayate or recommend the Hayate, because they got that stigma of back when you could get the small end or it, essentially. And that's why. But the guns on it are amazing. Torpedoes are amazing, especially with that reload booster. And the smoke and the gun combo is really good for farming. And those torpedoes are no joke at all. They'll just destroy anything that they hit. 12 kilometer range. They're just super painful. And the Hayate is one of the most versatile of the Japanese destroyers. You can build into it multiple ways. You can build more into torpedoes. You can build more into guns. You can build more into a jack of all trade build. It's kind of what I do. I build more into jack of all trade build. I build a little bit into torpedoes, a little bit into guns. You can focus into one or the other. You can build more into destroyer hunting. The Hayate is probably one of the more jack of all trade destroyers that you can get for coal, besides like say the Marceau. But overall, it's definitely very underrated, and I personally really enjoy playing the Hayate. You think there's anything else I'm missing on the Hayate? I think I covered it pretty well.
For why she's underrated, it doesn't help that there's a lot of good destroyers to choose at her tier. You have the Marceau,
Yep.
which is, well, it's a Marceau.
Yep.
Then you have Trump, which is a Dutch strike slinging destroyer, which is kind of hard to beat.
Yeah.
You've got the Groningen, you've got the Forrest Sherman, just fastest firing rate in the game for Shermans. Like, how do you beat that? Just when you like the Hayate is just not a bad destroyer, but she just doesn't stand out compared to the other ones, unfortunately.
Yeah, out of the 6, right? I think the Hayate is one of the more versatile. Like Marceau, it had its limits with those torpedoes. Would you say that, like, for maneuverability's sake and versatility's sake, I think the Marceau's probably the most versatile out of all of the tier 10 coal ships, and I think right behind it would be the Hayate, because the Hayate is very versatile.
I put Hayate in front because she has a concealment to fight other low concealment destroyers reliably. She has smokes if she needs to break away or just farm from it. And then she has the 12 kilometer torpedoes that can hit any ship that she's pushing into. like Marceau is a little bit more one-dimensional compared to Hayate.
Yeah,
Hayate is just more versatile in my opinion.
you know what? Yeah, I agree with you there. With that I didn't put that into factor. With that 6.1 concealment, while the Marcel is a 7, it's able to you can build more into destroyer hunting as well, and you're able to sneak up quicker onto those destroyers with that 6.1 kilometer concealment. While with the 7 kilometer with the Marcel, it gives them a little bit more time to see you coming in and kind of disengage. Well, that 6.1 gives them barely enough time before you're going to be spotting them. So very good point there, SAT. But anyway, that's good. That's our top 5 lists of the underrated premium ships in World of Warships. If you guys have any questions or concerns, let us in the comments down below. I also play all of these ships on my Twitch stream, so twitch.tv/overlordbo. So make sure you guys check that out as well. And make sure to leave a like and a comment and subscribe. I do appreciate all your guys' support on my channel recently on all platforms. I do greatly appreciate it. And I will see you guys in the next video. Deuces!